Chapter 1. The night everything changed. I should have known the moment I heard the knock that my life was about to shatter into 1,000 irreparable pieces. It was past midnight when 3 precise raps echoed through our tiny apartment, each one measured and deliberate, like the countdown to an execution. My sister Maya was out again, probably at another underground poker game, racking up debts she had no intention of paying. I'd stopped trying to save her from herself months ago, but I still answered the door when trouble came calling. I just didn't expect trouble to look like him. The man standing in my doorway didn't belong in our world of peeling wallpaper and flickering hallway lights. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than 6 months of my nurse's salary, tailored so perfectly it seemed painted onto his broad shoulders. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and ruthless beauty. But it was his eyes that stopped my breath. Cold, calculating, the kind of gray that held storms and secrets. Behind him, 2 men in matching suits flanked the hallway like silent sentinels. Maya Chen? His voice was smooth as expensive whiskey, with an edge that promised violence. She's not here. I kept my hand on the door, ready to slam it shut, though some instinct told me it wouldn't matter. This man got what he wanted. Who are you? Those storm cloud eyes traveled over me slowly, deliberately, taking inventory in a way that made my skin prickle with awareness. Not sexual. At least not entirely. More like a predator assessing prey, calculating value and vulnerability in a single sweep. Dante Salvatore. He said it like I should know the name. Like everyone should. Your sister owes me $200,000. I've come to collect. The number hit me like a physical blow. 200,000. Maya had told me she owed some money to the wrong people, but I'd imagined maybe 10, 20,000 at most. This was insurmountable. Impossible. That's not possible, I breathed. She doesn't have that kind of... Clearly. His gaze hadn't left my face, which is why I'm here. She has 72 hours to pay, or I take collateral. What kind of collateral? But I already knew. My stomach twisted with dread. The kind with a pulse. My fingers tightened on the doorframe. You can't just... There are laws. This is... Laws? A ghost of a smile touched his lips, somehow making him look more dangerous. Miss Chen, I am the law in this city. At least, the only law that matters in the circles your sister runs in. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, something dark and cedar-scented that made my head swim. Now are you going to let me in, or shall we have this conversation in the hallway where your neighbors can hear every word? I should have slammed the door, should have called the police, though some buried instinct told me that would be futile. Instead, I stepped aside, hating myself for the weakness even as I did it. He moved past me with the grace of a panther, his men remaining in the hallway like posted guards. My small living room seemed to shrink around his presence. He didn't sit, didn't touch anything, just stood in the center of the space, radiating controlled power. Your sister borrowed money from one of my associates 6 months ago, he said, turning to face me. Small amounts at first. She was good for it. Then the amounts grew larger, and her luck at the tables grew worse. She promised she'd pay it back. She promised a lot of things. I'll talk to her, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. We'll figure something out, a payment plan. I'm not a bank, Miss Chen. His eyes pinned me in place. I'm a businessman, and your sister has made me look weak. When people owe me money and don't pay, others start to think they can do the same. I can't allow that. So what? You're going to kill her? The words came, out sharper than I intended, edged with the anger that had been building for months watching Maya self-destruct. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe? Or approval. I'm going to take what I'm owed, one way or another. We stood there in tense silence, predator and prey sizing each other up. I was acutely aware of how alone we were, how easily those men in the hallway could make me disappear. But beneath the fear, something else stirred. A strange, electric awareness of him as more than just a threat, as a man whose intensity was almost hypnotic. What's your name? He asked suddenly. Lily Chen. He said it slowly, like he was tasting each syllable. You're a nurse at Street Catherine's hospital. Night shift. You work 60 hours a week trying to pay off your mother's medical debts. You haven't had a vacation in 3 years. You're 26 years old, and you've spent the last 5 raising your sister after your parents died. He paused, letting the weight of his knowledge settle over me like a cage. I know everything about you, Lily. I make it my business to know. Cold dread slithered down my spine. You've been watching me? I've been watching your sister. You were simply collateral observation. He moved closer, each step deliberate. But now I find you much more interesting. Why? I couldn't stop the question, even though every survival instinct screamed at me to stay quiet. Because you're nothing like her. He stopped a foot away, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes, close enough to see the flecks of silver in that stormy gray. Maya is chaos, selfish, reckless, destructive. But you. His hand rose, and I froze as one finger traced along my jawline. Featherlight. You're the axis everything revolves around. The one who holds it all together. The one who sacrifices. I should have stepped back, should have slapped his hand away. Instead, I stood paralyzed by the intensity of his focus. By the way, his touch sent electricity racing through my veins, despite every rational thought telling me this man was dangerous. Your sister can't pay her debt, he said softly, his hand dropping away. We both know that. But you could. I don't have that kind of money either. No, but you have something more valuable. His eyes held mine captive. Your loyalty, your work ethic, your integrity. Horror dawned. You want me to work for you, in a manner of speaking. He stepped back, giving me space to breathe, though the air still felt too thin. I have many businesses, Lily. Legitimate ones, clubs, restaurants, real estate. I also have enemies who would love nothing more than to see me bleed. I need someone I can trust in a position of proximity. You want a spy? I want a nurse. His smile was sharp as a blade. Someone to tend to injuries that can't go to a hospital. Someone who understands discretion. Someone whose sister's life depends on their cooperation. The trap snapped shut around me with perfect precision. And if I refuse, then in 72 hours Maya disappears. You'll never find her body. He said it without emotion, stating simple fact. Or, he paused, and something shifted in his expression. Something I couldn't quite read. Or I take you instead of her, right now, tonight. My heart hammered against my ribs. What? Your debt for hers. You work for me, exclusively, until the 200,000 is paid off through your service. Your sister walks away free and clear. He moved closer again, and this time when he looked at me, there was something hungry in his gaze, something that made my skin flush hot despite the fear. I'll even sweeten the deal. I'll pay off your mother's medical debts. All of them. Consider it a signing bonus. It was too much, too generous. Which meant, what's the catch? The catch, Lily, he said, his voice dropping to something almost intimate, is that you belong to me, completely. You live where I say, work when I say, do what I say. No questions, no hesitation. And if you try to run, if you betray me, if you so much as think about going to the police. He leaned in until his lips nearly brushed my ear. I'll make you watch while I destroy everyone you've ever cared about, starting with Maya. I should have been terrified. I was terrified. But underneath the fear, some traitorous part of me sparked to life at his words, at the dark promise in his voice, at the way my body responded to his proximity despite every logical reason to recoil. Why me? I whispered. If you just need a nurse, there must be dozens, because I don't need just a nurse. He pulled back to look at me, and the intensity in his eyes stole my breath. I need someone who understands sacrifice, someone who knows how to keep secrets, someone who won't break under pressure. His thumb traced my lower lip, sending a shockwave through my system. And because the moment I saw you, Lily Chen, I knew you were mine. The possessiveness in those words should have sent me running. Instead, they rooted me to the spot, caught between terror and a dark, inexplicable pull toward this dangerous man who held my life in his hands. I need time to think. No. The word was absolute. You decide now. Your sister, or yourself. Choose. Maya's face flashed through my mind, my reckless, selfish, self-destructive sister, who had brought this nightmare to our door. The sister I'd raised, protected, sacrificed for since I was 21 years old. The sister who would absolutely get herself killed if left to face the consequences of her own actions. But if I took her place, if I walked into this man's world, I might never escape. I might become something unrecognizable. Dante's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and something dark crossed his face. Your sister just lost another 50,000 at the tables. That's 250 now. The price keeps going up, Lily. Tick-tock. The rage that surged through me was white-hot and blinding. All these years of sacrifice, of working myself to exhaustion, of putting my life on hold to keep us afloat. And Maya was out there right now making it worse, not even trying to fix what she'd broken. Maybe I'd spent enough years saving someone who didn't want to be saved. Fine. The word came out steady, resolute. I'll do it. I'll work for you. But Maya goes free, completely free. You leave her alone. You don't collect from her. You never contact her again. Something like satisfaction gleamed in Dante's eyes. Done. And I want it in writing. A contract. His eyebrows rose slightly. You want to negotiate with me? You said you needed someone who wouldn't break under pressure. I lifted my chin, meeting his gaze even though my knees felt weak. I'm not walking into this blind. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then slowly a real smile curved his lips. Not the dangerous, predatory ones from before, but something genuine, impressed. I knew I chose right, he murmured, then louder. Marco. One of the men from the hallway appeared instantly. Draw up a contract. Standard terms. 18-month duration based on debt-to-service ratio. Include the medical debt payoff. His eyes never left mine, and add a clause if Miss Chen completes her service satisfactorily and without betrayal. She walks away free and clear with no further obligation. It was more generous than I'd expected, which meant I was missing something, but I was too far in to back out now. Pack a bag, Dante said. You have 10 minutes. Anything you need from this apartment, take it now. You won't be coming back. The finality of those words hit me like a physical blow. My life, my small, safe, predictable life was ending. Right here, right now. I moved on autopilot, throwing clothes and essentials into a duffel bag. My nursing credentials, my mother's locket, the photo of my parents on their wedding day. Everything else could stay. It was just stuff, just anchors to a life I was leaving behind. When I emerged from my bedroom, Dante was standing by the window, looking out at the city lights with his hands in his pockets. He turned at my approach, and something in his expression softened almost imperceptibly. Any regrets? He asked. I thought about Maya, about the years of sacrifice and thankless effort. I thought about the mountain of debt I'd been drowning under. I thought about this dangerous, intense man who had walked into my life and offered me a way out even if the price was my freedom. Ask me in 18 months, I said. His smile was slow and devastating. I'll hold you to that. As I followed him out of my apartment and into the dark SUV waiting below, as the city lights blurred past the tinted windows. As we drove deeper into a world I'd only glimpsed in nightmares, one thought echoed through my mind. I'd made a deal with the devil himself, and God help me. Some dark part of me wanted to see where it would lead. Chapter 2. Into the Lion's Den. The Salvatore estate loomed against the night sky, like something out of a Gothic novel, all soaring gates and shadowed grounds, with a mansion that seemed to sprawl endlessly in every direction. We'd driven for 40 minutes outside the city, leaving behind the familiar streets of my life for this isolated fortress where the rules of the outside world clearly didn't apply. Dante hadn't spoken during the drive. He'd made several phone calls in Italian, his voice cold and clipped, discussing things I didn't want to understand. I'd caught words here and there, soldato, territorio, vendetta, each one a reminder of exactly what kind of world I'd agreed to enter. Now, as the SUV pulled through the gates and up a circular drive lined with marble statues, the full weight of my decision crashed over me. Welcome home, Lily, Dante said, and there was something darkly amused in his tone, as if he could read every panicked thought racing through my mind. This isn't my home. It is now. He stepped out of the car before I could respond, coming around to open my door himself, a gesture that would have been gentlemanly, if not for the way his hand claimed my elbow, proprietary and absolute. Come, I'll show you your quarters. The interior of the mansion was as overwhelming as the exterior, all marble floors and crystal chandeliers, Renaissance paintings and furniture that probably cost more than my entire apartment building. Staff moved through the halls like ghosts, their eyes downcast, not acknowledging us as Dante led me through a maze of corridors. We climbed a grand staircase to the 3rd floor, where he finally stopped at a door near the end of a long hallway. Your room, he said, pushing it open. It wasn't a room, it was a suite, larger than my entire apartment had been, decorated in shades of cream and gold, with a 4-poster bed that looked like something a princess would sleep in. French doors opened onto a balcony overlooking manicured gardens. An attached bathroom featured a clawfoot tub and a shower that could fit 6 people. There are clothes in the closet, Dante continued, moving through the space with casual ownership. Various sizes. Wear what fits. My housekeeper, Mrs. Chen. No relation will help you with anything you need. You'll take your meals with me unless I specify otherwise. I set my duffel bag down, feeling completely untethered. And my job? You said you needed a nurse. You'll be on call. When I need medical attention or any of my men do, you provide it. No questions asked. No matter the injury. He turned to face me, leaning against the bedpost with his arms crossed. You'll also attend certain social functions with me. Dinners, galas, meetings. You'll be introduced as my personal physician. Why would I need to? Because appearances matter in my world, Lily. Having a legitimate medical professional on staff adds a veneer of respectability. It also sends a message that I take care of my people. His eyes traveled over me again in that assessing way. And because I want you there. The last part was said so simply, so directly, that it sent a shiver down my spine. I want to see the contract before I agree to anything else. It's being prepared now. You'll have it by morning. He pushed off the bedpost, moving toward the door. Get some sleep. Tomorrow your real education begins. Wait, the word escaped before I could stop it. He paused in the doorway, looking back at me with those storm-gray eyes. My sister, how do I know you'll keep your word about leaving her alone? Because I just spent an hour having my men pull her out of the Palazzo Club before she could lose another 100,000, and I had them drive her to a rehabilitation facility upstate, where she'll spend the next 3 months getting clean and learning how to stop being a parasite. His voice was matter-of-fact, but something flickered in his expression. You're not the only one who can see she's destroying herself, Lily. The difference is, I actually have the power to stop it. He'd already taken care of Maya, before I'd even finished packing. The efficiency of it should have terrified me, how quickly he could move pieces around like chess figures, how thoroughly he'd researched our lives. Instead, I felt something uncomfortably close to gratitude. Thank you, I said quietly. Don't thank me yet. His smile was sharp. Everything has a price. You just haven't figured out what yours is. Then he was gone, the door closing with a soft click that sounded like a prison cell locking. I stood in the center of that beautiful, luxurious room and tried to remember how to breathe. The nightmare woke me at 3 a.m, the same one I'd had since my parents' accident. Twisted metal, broken glass, my mother's hand reaching for mine, and then nothing. I jolted upright in the unfamiliar bed, my heart hammering, disoriented by the silk sheets and the moonlight streaming through windows I didn't recognize. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then it all came rushing back. I was in Dante Salvatore's mansion. I'd sold myself to a Mafia boss. My life as I knew it was over. The panic attack hit like a freight train. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think past the crushing weight on my chest. I stumbled out of bed and onto the balcony, gulping at the cool night air, trying to remember the grounding techniques I'd learned in nursing school. Can't sleep? I spun around with a gasp. Dante stood in the shadows near my door, still dressed in his suit pants and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, the top buttons undone. How long had he been there? How had I not heard him? What are you doing here? My voice came out shakier than I wanted. I own every inch of this estate. I go where I please. He moved into the moonlight, and I could see the exhaustion around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. But if you're asking why I'm outside your room specifically, I heard you scream. I didn't, but maybe I had. Sometimes the nightmares took my voice without me realizing. You should go. Panic attack? He asked it clinically, no judgment in his tone. How did you? I know what it looks like. He stepped onto the balcony, and suddenly the space felt impossibly small. Your hands are shaking. You're hyperventilating. Your pupils are dilated. His hand caught my wrist, fingers pressing against my pulse point. Heart rate approximately 140. Classic symptoms. His touch was surprisingly gentle, and the clinical assessment in his voice so similar to how I'd speak to a patient somehow helped ground me. My breathing started to slow. You have them often? He asked, still holding my wrist. Since my parents died. Car accident. I was in the car. I don't know why I told him. Maybe because it was 3 a.m. and I was exhausted and terrified. Maybe because something about the way he looked at me made me feel like he actually saw me, not just the thing he'd acquired. How old were you? 21. His thumb stroked over my pulse. Whether consciously or not, I couldn't tell. And you've been carrying the weight of the world ever since. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. Someone had to. Not anymore. His other hand came up to cup my face, tilting my chin up to meet his eyes. You're under my protection now, Lily. That means no one touches you, no one threatens you, no one makes you afraid, including yourself. You make me afraid, I whispered. Good. His thumb traced my cheekbone. You should be afraid of me, but not like this, not the kind of fear that breaks you. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my skin. The kind that thrills you, the kind that makes you feel alive. My heart hammered for an entirely different reason now. I don't. You do. His certainty was absolute. I saw it in your eyes when I walked into your apartment. Underneath the terror, underneath the shock, there was recognition. Like some part of you had been waiting for someone to finally see you, to finally claim you. You're insane. Probably. His smile was dark. But you're here anyway, aren't you? You could have said no, could have told me to take Maya and leave you out of it. But you didn't. His lips brushed my temple, barely a touch. Because you wanted this. An escape. A reason to finally put yourself first. I did it for Maya. You did it for yourself, he countered. And there's nothing wrong with that. You've earned the right to be selfish, Lily Chen. The way he said my name like a caress, like a claim, sent heat spiraling through me. This was wrong. He was dangerous. I should pull away, establish boundaries, remember that I was here under duress. But his hand was still on my face, and his eyes held mine captive, and some reckless part of me wanted to close the distance between us and find out what would happen. Get some sleep, Dante said, as if sensing how close I was to doing something stupid. He stepped back, his hands falling away, leaving me cold. Tomorrow, you meet my world. You'll need your strength. He left before I could respond, disappearing back through my room like a phantom. I stood on the balcony for a long time afterward, my pulse still racing, my skin still burning where he'd touched me. He was right about one thing. I should be afraid of him. I just couldn't figure out if I was more afraid of what he might do to me, or what I might let him. Chapter 3. The first lesson. Morning came too quickly. I woke to find an elegant breakfast tray outside my door. Fresh fruit, pastries, coffee so dark and rich it made my instant packets from home seem like dishwater. There was also a note in sharp, precise handwriting. Wear the black dress. Be downstairs by 9. D. I found the dress in the walk-in closet that I hadn't fully explored last night. It was simple but clearly expensive, sleeveless, fitted, falling just below my knees. Professional but striking. Next to it, a pair of heels that actually fit my size. The precision of it unnerved me. How thoroughly had he studied me? At exactly 9, I made my way downstairs, following the sound of voices to what appeared to be a private study. The door stood ajar, and through it I could see Dante behind a massive desk, his attention on a man standing across from him. Shouldn't have happened, the man was saying, his voice tight with stress. I had security posted. I had cameras. You had incompetence. Dante cut him off, his voice lethal in its quietness. My shipment was worth $2 million, Carlo. $2 million. And somehow, it disappeared from a warehouse you personally assured me was secure. Boss, I swear. I don't know how they... The crack of Dante's fist hitting the desk made me jump. I don't pay you to not know things. I pay you to prevent them. He stood, moving around the desk with predatory grace. You have 48 hours to find out who stole from me and where my merchandise is. If you can't do that, if you've embarrassed me in front of the other families because of your negligence... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I'll find them, boss. I promise. I'll get out. The man Carlo practically ran from the room, passing me in the doorway without even seeing me. His fear left a wake in the air. Dante's eyes found mine, and the cold fury in them transformed instantly into something else. Something that made my stomach flip. You're on time. Good. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Sit. I entered the study, hyper-aware of his gaze tracking my every movement. The room smelled like leather and old books, with dark wood paneling and floor-to-ceiling shelves. A window behind his desk overlooked the estate's grounds. What you just witnessed, Dante said, settling back into his chair, is a fraction of what I deal with daily. Theft, betrayal, incompetence. In my world, weakness is death. Mercy is suicide. He steepled his fingers. I need you to understand that before we go any further. I'm not stupid, I said. I know what you are. Do you? He tilted his head. Tell me then. What am I? Dangerous, ruthless. A criminal who runs criminal organizations and hurts people for a living. All true. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I'm also the man standing between this city and complete chaos. The families I control keep the streets safer than any police force ever could. The businesses I run legitimate and otherwise employ thousands. I provide structure, order, protection, by killing people, when necessary. He said it without flinching. I won't apologize for what I am, Lily. I won't pretend to be something softer for your comfort. This is the world you agreed to enter. A knock interrupted us. A woman in her 50s entered, carrying a leather folder. The contract, sir. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. Dante took the folder, dismissing her with a nod. He slid it across the desk to me. Read every word, ask questions. This is your one chance to negotiate. I opened the folder with shaking hands. The contract was surprisingly straightforward: 18 months of service, medical care for his organization, attendance at required social functions, living on the estate, and all my expenses covered, plus a monthly stipend. The medical debt payoff was listed explicitly. Maya's name appeared in a clause guaranteeing her safety and freedom from collection. The termination clause, I said, finding it near the end. It says I can only leave after 18 months, or if you release me earlier. What if I want to leave before then? Then you breach the contract. Maya's debt reinstates with interest, and your medical debt returns to your responsibility. His eyes held mine. I told you, Lily. You belong to me for 18 months. I don't do things halfway. My hands tightened on the pages. And what happens if you decide you want more than just medical care? The question hung in the air between us, loaded with implications. Dante leaned back in his chair, studying me with that unnerving intensity. Are you asking if I plan to force myself on you? Heat flooded my face, but I held his gaze. Yes. No. The word was absolute. I don't take unwilling women to my bed, Lily. It's beneath me, and frankly, it would bore me. He stood, moving around the desk to lean against it in front of me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back. But if you come to me willingly, if you decide you want to explore this pull between us, then all bets are off. There is no pull, liar. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. You felt it last night. You feel it now. The same electricity I feel every time I look at you. The same inevitability. I should have denied it. Should have created distance and boundaries. Instead, I heard myself ask, what do you want from me? Everything. The word was a caress and a threat all at once. Your service. Your loyalty. Your trust. His thumb traced my jaw. And eventually your surrender. My breath caught. We'll see. He straightened, moving back to his chair as if that charged moment hadn't just happened. Sign the contract. I have meetings all day, but tonight you'll accompany me to dinner with the Moretti family. Rival organization, tentative peace treaty, lots of political theater. You'll smile, be charming, and observe. Observe what? Everything. He picked up his phone, already moving on to the next thing. Body language. Power dynamics. Who's afraid of who? You're smart, Lily. Use that. Tell me what you see. It was a test. Everything with him was a test. I signed the contract, my signature sealing my fate. The rest of the day passed in a blur of preparation. Mrs. Chen, who was indeed no relation, helped me get ready for dinner, providing a dress that made my simple black one from this morning look like sackcloth. This one was deep emerald, silk that clung to every curve, with a back that dipped dangerously low. Mr. Salvatore has excellent taste, Mrs. Chen said, zipping me up. He chose this specifically for you. He chose my clothes? He chooses everything, dear. She adjusted the dress's drape with practiced hands. Hair up or down? Down, I guess. She styled it in loose waves, applied makeup with a professional hand, and by the time she finished, I barely recognized myself in the mirror. I looked. Sophisticated. Dangerous, even. Like someone who belonged in Dante's world. The thought terrified me. At 7, a knock came at my door. I opened it to find Dante in a tuxedo, looking like sin personified. His eyes traveled over me slowly, and the heat in them made my skin burn. Perfect, he murmured. Absolutely perfect. He offered his arm. I took it, feeling the corded muscle beneath his jacket, acutely aware of how small my hand looked against his sleeve. Remember, he said as we descended the stairs, you're mine tonight. Act like it. What does that mean? It means you stay close. You touch me when it's appropriate. You look at me like you're exactly where you want to be. We reached the entrance where his car waited. It means you sell the idea that you belong to me, body and soul. I don't. Tonight you do. His hand settled on the small of my back, possessive and warm through the thin silk. The Morettis will be looking for weakness. Any sign that my control is slipping, any hint that the people around me aren't completely loyal, and they'll strike. So tonight, Lily, you're not a nurse working off a debt. You're my woman. Understand? My woman. The words sent a dangerous thrill through me. I understand, I whispered. His smile was approving. Good girl. The drive to the restaurant was tense with anticipation. Dante briefed me on the Morettis old money family, legitimate businesses mixed with black market operations, 3 sons who all wanted to take over when their father died. Dangerous but honorable, as much as honor existed in this world. Why am I really here? I asked as we pulled up to an exclusive restaurant with no sign. Just a red door. You don't need me to observe. You have men for that. I need you to be seen. He helped me out of the car, his hand claiming mine. The families are circling Lily. They think I'm vulnerable because I'm alone. No wife, no heir, no obvious weaknesses. But you, his eyes held mine. You change that calculation. You make me look stable, settled. I'm window dressing. You're a statement. We walked toward the entrance, and I could feel eyes on us from the shadows guards. Watchers, people reporting our every move back to whoever paid them. And statements matter. Inside, the restaurant was beautiful, dim lighting, intimate tables, the kind of place where secrets were traded like currency. We were led to a private room in the back where 4 men already waited. The Moretti patriarch was exactly what I'd imagined. Silver-haired, sharp-eyed, radiating old-world power. His sons flanked him like attack dogs on leashes. Dante. The patriarch stood, offering his hand. Good to see you. Lorenzo. Dante shook his hand, the gesture more threat than greeting. Allow me to introduce Lily Chen, my personal physician and companion. The way he said companion made it clear what he wanted them to think. I felt their eyes assess me, calculate me, try to find the angles they could exploit. A pleasure, Lorenzo said, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. Dinner was a carefully choreographed dance of power and politics. I said little, but I watched everything: the way Lorenzo's middle son's hand shook when he reached for his wine glass, the way the youngest kept checking his phone under the table, the way the eldest sat too close to Dante, challenging his space. And I watched Dante, the way he commanded the room without raising his voice, the way his hand would find my thigh under the table, possessive and warm, grounding me even as my heart raced. Your companion is very quiet, Lorenzo observed halfway through the meal. Does she speak? When she has something worth saying, Dante replied smoothly. His hand squeezed my thigh, a silent command. I met Lorenzo's eyes. I prefer to listen first. Lorenzo's eyes narrowed slightly, reassessing me. And what have you heard that's worth noting? It was a trap. Whatever I said would either make me look naive or reveal too much, but Dante had brought me here for a reason, and backing down now would make both of us look weak. I've heard that your youngest son has been texting someone every 5 minutes for the past hour, I said calmly. Either he's incredibly rude, or he's nervous about something that can't wait until after dinner. I've heard the tension in your middle son's voice when he talks about the East Side territory, like he's trying to convince himself of something he doesn't quite believe. And I've heard the way your eldest keeps testing boundaries, sitting too close, speaking too freely like he's already imagining himself in your chair. Silence crashed over the table like a wave. Lorenzo stared at me, his expression unreadable. His sons looked various shades of furious and embarrassed. Dante's hand on my thigh moved in a slow, approving caress that made my breath hitch. Then Lorenzo laughed, a genuine, booming sound that startled everyone. She's sharp as a blade, Dante. Where did you find her? She found me, Dante said, and there was something almost possessive in his voice. Lucky accident. There are no accidents in our world. Lorenzo's smile faded, his eyes turning, calculating. Only opportunities and threats. Which is she? That depends entirely on you. Dante's voice dropped to something lethal. Lily is under my protection. Absolutely. Any threat to her is a threat to me. Are we clear? It wasn't a question. It was a declaration of war if Lorenzo chose to test it. Crystal, Lorenzo said after a loaded pause. Though I wonder, does she know what kind of protection you offer? What it costs? She knows exactly what she signed up for. Dante's hand slid higher on my thigh, the gesture deliberate, claiming, "Don't you, Tesoro?" The Italian endearment sent a shiver through me. Yes, I managed, my voice steadier than I felt. The rest of dinner passed in carefully neutral conversation, business deals, territory discussions, the politics of maintaining peace between families. I said nothing more, but I felt the weight of every gaze, especially the eldest Moretti son's. His name was Marco, and the way he looked at me made my skin crawl. When we finally left, Dante's hand stayed on my back until we were safely in his car. The doors closed, speeding away from the restaurant. "You were perfect," he said, turning to me with something blazing in his eyes. "Absolutely perfect. The way you read them, the way you called, out their weaknesses without blinking." He leaned closer, his intensity almost overwhelming. "Do you have any idea how rare that is? How valuable?" I just said what I saw. You did more than that. You showed them you're not just some pretty thing I'm keeping around. You showed them you're dangerous. His hand cupped my face, thumb stroking my cheekbone. "They'll be talking about you for weeks, trying to figure out what other secrets you might uncover, wondering what you whisper in my ear at night." The implication in those words made heat pool low in my stomach. "I don't... Not yet." His thumb moved to my lips, tracing them slowly. "But you will, Lily. Eventually, you'll tell me everything. Everything you see, everything you think, everything you want." He leaned in until his lips nearly touched mine. "And I'll give you everything in return. Protection, power, pleasure beyond anything you've imagined." I should have pulled away, should have reminded him this was business, nothing more. Instead, I heard myself whisper, "What if I don't want those things? Then you're a better liar than I thought." His breath ghosted across my lips. "But we both know the truth. You're tired of being invisible, Lily. Tired of sacrificing and getting nothing in return. Tired of being afraid." His hand slid into my hair, fingers tightening. "With me, you'll never be invisible again. You'll never have to be afraid of anything except how much you might enjoy this." Then his phone rang, shattering the moment. He pulled back with a curse, answering in clipped Italian. Whatever he heard made his expression turn to stone. "When?" A pause. "How many?" Another pause, longer this time, and I watched his jaw clench. "Contain it. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up, then leaned forward to give the driver an address. "What happened?" I asked. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw real anger in his eyes, cold, controlled, deadly. "One of my warehouses was hit, 6 of my find. Men are injured, 2 critically." His gaze pinned me. "This is what I needed you for, Lily. No hospitals, no police reports, no questions. Can you handle gunshot wounds?" My nurse training kicked in automatically. "Yes. What supplies do I have?" "Everything you need. I keep surgical supplies at all my locations." He studied my face. "This is going to be bad. Blood, pain, men who might not make it. If you can't handle it, I can handle it." I'd worked trauma shifts in the ER. I'd seen horrible things, but this would be different. These wounds came from Dante's world, from the violence he lived in. This would make it real in a way nothing else had. "Good." His hand found mine, gripping tight. "Because this is your first real test, Tesoro. How you perform tonight determines everything." Chapter 4. Baptism in Blood. The warehouse was chaos when we arrived, men shouting, blood on the concrete, the acrid smell of gunpowder still hanging in the air. Dante's men had moved the wounded to a back room that had been hastily converted into a makeshift medical bay. 6 men in various states of injury, and I could tell immediately which 2 were critical. "Lily," Dante's voice cut through the noise. "What do you need?" I assessed quickly, falling into the calm that always came over me in emergencies. "Those 2 first chest wounds, potential lung collapse. I need help moving them, IV fluids, plasma if you have it." I looked at him. "And someone who can follow instructions without panicking?" "Marco," Dante called to one of his men. "Not the Moretti, a different Marco, younger, steadier. You're with her. Whatever she says, you do it. Understood?" The young man nodded, falling into place beside me. The next 3 hours were a blur of blood and adrenaline. The first man had a bullet lodged near his lung. I had to extract it carefully, pack the wound, pray I'd stopped the internal bleeding. The second had lost too much blood already, his pressure dropping dangerously. I worked on him while simultaneously directing Marco on the first, running between them, hands covered in blood, my expensive emerald dress ruined beyond repair. Dante stayed the entire time, standing against the wall like a dark sentinel, watching everything. He didn't flinch at the blood, didn't look away when I had to crack the second man's chest to manually compress his heart, didn't speak except to get me whatever I needed. 2 hours in, the second man's heart stopped. I worked for 20 minutes trying to bring him back, but he was gone. Too much damage, too much blood loss. "Call it," Dante said quietly. I looked up at him, my hands still on the dead man's chest, trembling with exhaustion and failure. You did everything you could. Call it, Lily. Time of death, 11:47 p.m. I stepped back, feeling the weight of it crash over me. In the hospital, we lost patients. It happened. But this felt different. This man had died because of Dante's world, because of violence and territory and money. "The others?" I asked, my voice hollow. "Stable," Marco answered. "You saved them. All 4 of them. 4 out of 6. In trauma medicine, those were good odds, but it didn't feel good. It felt like drowning." Dante approached, his hand settling on my shoulder. "You need to clean up. I'll have Mrs. Chen bring you clothes." I looked down at myself, blood-soaked dress, hands stained red, probably blood on my face too. I looked like something out of a horror movie. "The man who died," I said, not looking at Dante. "Did he have family?" "A wife. 2 daughters." Dante's voice was matter-of-fact. "They'll be taken care of. Financially, at least. That doesn't bring him back." "No, it doesn't." His hand moved to my face, turning me to look at him. "But this is the reality, Lily. Men die in my world, sometimes despite your best efforts. Sometimes because of my orders. You need to decide now if you can live with that." I wanted to rage at him, to scream that this was his fault, that the blood on my hands was his responsibility. But the exhaustion was too deep, and some part of me knew he was right. I'd agreed to this. I'd walked into his world with my eyes open. "I need to check on the others," I said instead. "Make sure they're stable through the night. Marco will stay with them. You need rest." "I'm fine." That wasn't a request. His grip on my face tightened slightly. "You've been running on adrenaline for 3 hours. When it crashes, you'll crash hard. I need you functional, not collapsed." He released me, stepping back. "Marco, make sure she drinks water and eats something. Then take her upstairs to clean up." I wanted to argue, but he was already moving away, phone to his ear, giving orders in Italian, dismissing me because I'd served my purpose. The ride back to the estate was silent. I sat in the back of the SUV, still covered in blood, watching the city lights blur past. Dante was in a different car, dealing with the aftermath of the attack, finding out who was responsible, planning his retaliation. At the mansion, Mrs. Chen met me at the door, her face carefully neutral as she took in my appearance. "Come, dear. Let's get you cleaned up." The shower was scalding hot, and I stood under it until the water ran clear, scrubbing at my skin like I could wash away the memory of that man's heart stopping under my hands. I'd lost patients before. I'd lost them in residency, lost them during my nursing shifts. But this felt different. This felt like a line crossed, a piece of my soul traded for. What? Maya's safety? My own survival? When I finally emerged, wrapped in a plush robe, I found clean clothes, laid out simple pajamas, soft and comfortable, and on the nightstand, a glass of whiskey and a note in Dante's handwriting. "You did well tonight. Rest. We'll talk in the morning." I drank the whiskey in one burning gulp, climbed into bed, and fell into dreamless sleep. I woke to sunlight streaming through the windows, and the smell of coffee. For a moment I forgot where I was, forgot everything that had happened. Then I sat up and saw Dante sitting in the chair by my window, watching me with those storm-gray eyes. "How long have you been there?" My voice was rough with sleep. "An hour, maybe more." He stood, moving to the small table where a breakfast tray waited. "You talk in your sleep. Did you know that?" Embarrassment heated my face. What did I say? Nothing coherent. Just fragments. Apologies, mostly. To people who aren't here. He poured coffee, brought it to me. You carry guilt like armor, Lily. It's going to destroy you if you let it. I took the coffee, grateful for something to do with my hands. A man died last night. Yes, and 4 lived because of you. He sat on the edge of my bed, closer than was appropriate. Vincent, the man who died, knew the risks. We all do. He chose this life knowing he might die for it. That doesn't make it right. No, but it makes it real. His hand found mine, fingers threading through mine in a gesture that felt almost tender. You can't save everyone, Tesoro. Not in this world. Sometimes all you can do is fight for the ones you can save and mourn the ones you can't. I looked at our joined hands, at the contrast of his scarred knuckles against my skin. Who taught you that? My father. Something dark crossed his face, before I had to put a bullet in his head. The casual way he said it made my blood run cold. You killed your own father? He was dying anyway. Cancer, eating him from the inside, and he'd become weak, making decisions that endangered the family. Dante's eyes met mine, unflinching. So I did what needed to be done. I took over, I saved us, and I've never looked back. How old were you? 22. Younger than I was now. He'd taken his father's life and his empire before he could legally rent a car. The enormity of it, the violence of it, should have repulsed me. Instead, I found myself trying to imagine him at 22 already hard, already ruthless, already alone. You must think I'm a monster, he said, reading something in my face. I think you're dangerous. I set down my coffee. I think you've done terrible things, but I also think... I paused, searching for the right words. I think you carry your own guilt. You just hide it better. His expression shifted, surprise flickering across his features before he locked it down. Careful, Lily. You're starting to see too much. Isn't that what you wanted? Someone who could read people, who could see things others miss? Yes, but I didn't expect you to turn that skill on me. He stood, putting distance between us. The men who attacked the warehouse last night were hired by Marco Moretti, the eldest son, the one who couldn't stop looking at you during dinner. Ice flooded my veins. Because of me? Because I brought you. Because you embarrassed him, showed him up in front of his father. Dante's voice was cold. He thought attacking one of my operations would be a proportional response. He was wrong. What are you going to do? What I always do. Send a message that cannot be misunderstood. He moved toward the door, then paused. I need you with me today. We're going to the Moretti estate. You're going to stand beside me while I deliver that message. Can you do that? I thought about Vincent, about his wife and daughters. I thought about the 4 men I'd saved. I thought about Marco Moretti and the calculated cruelty in his eyes. Yes, I said. I can do that. His smile was sharp and approving. Get dressed. Wear something that says you're mine. We leave in an hour. Chapter 5. The Message. The dress misses. Chen brought me was red, the color of blood, of danger, of ownership. It clung to every curve, with a neckline that dipped low and a slit up the thigh that made me feel exposed. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked like a Mafia queen. The thought should have horrified me. Instead, it sent a dark thrill through my veins. Dante was waiting at the bottom of the stairs, surrounded by his men, at least a dozen of them, all armed, all radiating controlled violence. When he saw me, something blazed in his eyes that made my stomach flip. Perfect, he murmured, offering his hand. Absolutely perfect. I descended the stairs slowly, aware of every eye on me, aware of the way Dante tracked my every movement like a predator watching prey. When I reached him, his hand slid around my waist, pulling me close. Today, you don't leave my side, he said quietly. No matter what you see, no matter what happens. Understood? What are you going to do? Deliver a message. His smile was cold. And make sure everyone knows exactly what happens when they threaten what's mine. The drive to the Moretti estate was tense. Dante's men followed in 3 separate vehicles, a show of force that couldn't be mistaken for anything but a threat. I sat close to Dante, his hand possessive on my thigh, his thumb drawing absent circles that made it hard to breathe. Scared? He asked. Should I be? Probably, his hand squeezed. But you're braver than you think, Lily Chen. You proved that last night. The Moretti estate was impressive. Old money, old power, with gates and guards and an air of established authority. But when our convoy pulled up, when Dante's men emerged from their vehicles like an invading army, I saw the guards' hands move to their weapons. "Easy," Dante called out, his voice carrying. "I'm here to speak with Lorenzo, peacefully, for now." The gates opened slowly, reluctantly. We drove through, and I could feel the tension ratcheting up with every second. This was a powder keg, and one wrong move would light the fuse. Lorenzo waited on his front steps, his 3 sons flanking him. When he saw Dante emerge from the car, saw me emerge beside him, dressed in blood red, his face went carefully neutral. "Dante, this is unexpected." Dante's arm wrapped around my waist, holding me against his side. "Your son attacked my warehouse last night, killed one of my men, destroyed $50,000 worth of merchandise. I'd say my visit is perfectly expected." Marco Moretti stepped forward, his jaw tight. "I don't know what you're don't." The single word from Dante carried enough menace to stop Marco mid-sentence. "Don't insult me by lying. I have security footage. I have witness testimony. I have your hired guns in my basement right now, singing songs about who paid them." He paused. "Would you like me to play the recordings?" Lorenzo's face darkened. "Marco?" "He brought that bitch to dinner," Marco snarled, his eyes on me. "She sat there judging us, reading us, making us look like the insecure children you are." Dante's voice was silk over steel. "Lily did nothing but observe. The fact that you felt threatened by her intelligence says more about your weaknesses than hers. She's a whore you're using to—" Dante moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment he was beside me. The next his hand was wrapped around Marco's throat, slamming him back against a marble pillar. The click of safeties releasing filled the air as both sides drew weapons. "Say that again," Dante said quietly. "Give me a reason." "Enough!" Lorenzo's voice cracked like a whip. "Marco, apologize. Now. Father, now." The standoff lasted an eternity. Marco's face was turning purple, Dante's grip unwavering. Finally, Marco managed to choke out, "I apologize." Dante released him, stepping back smoothly. Not to me. To her. All eyes turned to me. I stood frozen, my heart hammering, acutely aware of the dozen guns pointed in various directions, of the violence humming in the air like electricity. Marco's eyes met mine, and the hatred there was palpable. But he forced out the words. "I apologize, Miss Chen. I could have accepted it, could have de-escalated the situation with grace. Instead, I heard myself say, for calling me a whore, or for being stupid enough to attack Dante's operation because your pride was hurt." Dante's smile was sharp as a blade, proud. Lorenzo actually laughed. "She has fire, Dante. I'll give you that. She has truth," Dante corrected. "Which is more valuable?" His arm reclaimed my waist. "Marco's actions demand recompense. He killed one of my men. He cost me money and reputation. In the old ways, that would mean blood for blood." The threat hung in the air like a blade. "But," Dante continued, "I'm willing to consider alternatives, out of respect for you, Lorenzo. Out of respect for the peace we've maintained. Name your price," Lorenzo said, his voice heavy. "3 things." Dante held up fingers. 1. Marco is barred from all territory disputes for 6 months. Any decisions about expansion go through his brothers or you. 2. The Morettas cover my losses from last night, the merchandise, the warehouse repairs, and a generous settlement for Vincent's family. 3. He paused, his hand tightening on my waist. Marco apologizes to Lily. A real apology. On his knees. The shock rippled through the assembled men like a wave. In the Mafia world, forcing a made man to kneel was the ultimate humiliation. That's Marco started. "Non-negotiable," Dante finished. "You want war, Marco? I'll give you war. I'll burn everything you've built to the ground and salt the earth behind me. Or you can swallow your pride, apologize to the woman you insulted, and we all walk away from this." His smile was cold. "Choose." Lorenzo looked at his son, and the disappointment in his eyes was crushing. "Do it. Father, do it, or I'll disown you myself." The silence stretched. Then, slowly, Marco Moretti knelt in front of me. His face was red with shame and rage, his hands clenched into fists. "I apologize, Miss Chen," he forced out. "For my words, for my actions, for my disrespect. I should have felt triumphant. Should have enjoyed watching this man, who'd ordered an attack, humiliate himself. Instead, I just felt the weight of the violence I was becoming part of, the cruel games and power plays that defined this world. Accepted, I said quietly. Good. Dante's hand slid up my back, possessive. Then we're done here. He turned to Lorenzo. Have the money transferred by tonight, and keep your son on a shorter leash, or next time I won't be so generous. We left the same way we came, like an army departing conquered territory. Dante's men filed back into their vehicles, weapons still visible, message delivered. I climbed into the car beside Dante, my hands shaking with delayed adrenaline. As soon as the doors closed, Dante pulled me against him, his mouth capturing mine in a kiss that was fierce and claiming and absolutely devastating. I gasped against his lips, and he took advantage, his tongue sweeping into my mouth, his hand fisting in my hair. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. You were magnificent, he said, his voice rough, standing there like a queen while he knelt. Do you have any idea how beautiful you were? I didn't do anything. You did everything. His thumb traced my swollen lips. You stood beside me. You didn't flinch. You demanded the respect you deserve. His eyes burned into mine. You're not playing at this anymore, Lily. You're becoming it. Becoming mine. I'm not. You are. He kissed me again, softer this time but no less possessive. And the sooner you stop fighting it, the sooner you'll understand how good this can be. My mind was spinning, my body responding to him in ways I couldn't control. This was wrong. He was dangerous. I should pull away, establish boundaries, remember that this was all a transaction. But his hand was sliding up my thigh, pushing the slit of my dress wider, and his mouth was on my neck, and I couldn't remember why any of that mattered. Dante, I breathed. Say you want this, he murmured against my skin. Say you want me. I should have said no, should have pulled away, should have remembered all the reasons this was a terrible idea. Instead, I heard myself whisper, I want you. His groan was pure satisfaction. Soon, Tesoro. Soon I'll have you exactly where I want you, but not yet. Not until you're ready to surrender completely. He pulled back, leaving me aching and confused and desperately wanting something I couldn't name. The drive back to the estate felt endless, charged with unspoken promises and dark desires. When we finally arrived, Dante helped me from the car, his hand lingering on mine. Rest today, he said. Tonight we celebrate. Celebrate what? Victory. His smile was sharp. And the fact that everyone in this city now knows exactly who you are, who you belong to. He left me standing there, trembling with want and fear and something darker, something that whispered I was already too far gone to ever find my way back. Chapter 6. The Party. That evening, I stood in front of my closet, staring at the array of dresses Mrs. Chen had laid out. Each one more stunning and expensive than the last. Each one chosen by Dante, designed to present me exactly as he wanted the world to see me. His possession, his prize, his queen. The thought should have made me angry. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my belly. What was happening to me? A knock at the door interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Come in, I called, expecting Mrs. Chen. Instead, Dante entered, stealing my breath. He wore a tuxedo again, but this time there was something different in his eyes. Something hungrier, more possessive. He'd tasted my surrender today, and now he was circling for more. You're not dressed, he observed, his gaze traveling over me in my robe. I couldn't decide. He moved to the closet, selecting a dress without hesitation, midnight black, backless, with a neckline that plunged dangerously low and a skirt that would cling to every curve. This one. It's too much. It's perfect. He turned to me, dress in hand. Every family in the city will be at this party, Lily. Every underboss, every associate, every player who matters. They need to see you not as some frightened girl I'm keeping prisoner, but as a woman who chooses to be by my side, who belongs there. But I don't choose, don't you? He set the dress down, moving closer. You could have stayed silent at the Moretti estate, could have played the victim. Instead, you stood tall and demanded respect. You could have pulled away in the car, could have rejected my kiss. Instead, you kissed me back and told me you wanted me. His hand cupped my face. You're choosing this, Lily. Every day, every moment, stop pretending otherwise. This isn't me, I whispered. I'm a nurse, I save lives. I don't. I don't stand beside mob bosses and watch men kneel and what? Enjoy it? His thumb stroked my cheek. You can be both, Tesoro. The healer and the queen. The innocent and the sin. You don't have to choose. He was seducing me with words, with touches, with the dark promise in his eyes. And God help me, it was working. Get dressed, he said softly. I'll wait downstairs. 30 minutes. After he left, I stared at the dress for a long moment. Then, slowly, I put it on. When I descended the stairs 30 minutes later, makeup perfect. Hair styled in elegant waves, diamonds borrowed from Dante's collection glittering at my throat and ears. I looked like someone else entirely. I looked like I belonged in his world. Dante waited at the bottom, and the way his eyes blazed when he saw me made my knees weak. Perfection, he breathed, taking my hand and bringing it to his lips. Absolute perfection. The party was being held at one of Dante's legitimate businesses, an exclusive club in the heart of the city with a rooftop terrace offering stunning views. When we arrived, it was already filled with dangerous people in expensive clothes, all of them sizing each other up, calculating angles and weaknesses. Dante's entrance silenced the room. He moved through the crowd with me on his arm, introducing me to players I'd only heard whispered about: the Russo family, the Castellano brothers, the Chinese triad representatives, the Irish mob connections. Each one assessed me, calculated my value, tried to determine what kind of threat I might pose. And through it all, Dante's hand never left me on my back, my waist, my shoulder, always touching, always claiming, making his ownership crystal clear. You're doing it again, I murmured during a quiet moment. Doing what? Showing me off like a prize. His smile was unapologetic. That's because you are. The most valuable thing I own. His hand slid dangerously low on my back. And everyone here knows it. We were interrupted by a woman approaching, tall, stunning, with dark hair and eyes that held calculation. Dante, it's been too long. Valentina? His voice was cool, professional. I didn't expect to see you here. Your brother invited me. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. We've been catching up. Something shifted in Dante's expression, something dangerous. My brother is here? On the terrace, with several interesting associates. Her eyes slid to me. And who is this? Your new toy? Before I could react to the insult, Dante's arm tightened around me. This is Lily Chen, my consort. And if you speak to her with anything less than complete respect again, Valentina, you'll find yourself escorted out. Permanently. The threat was clear. Valentina's smile faltered. My apologies, she said stiffly. I meant no disrespect. Of course you didn't. Dante was already steering me away, his body tense with barely controlled anger. Stay close to me. My brother's presence changes things. You have a brother? Unfortunately. His jaw was tight. Antonio. Younger, reckless, and perpetually trying to undermine me. If he's here with interesting associates, it means he's making moves. We found Antonio on the terrace, a younger version of Dante. But where Dante was controlled intensity, Antonio was chaotic energy. He was surrounded by men I didn't recognize, and the conversation stopped when Dante approached. Brother! Antonio's smile was too wide, too bright. What a party. You really know how to throw one. What are you doing here, Antonio? Can't I enjoy a celebration? Especially one honoring your new. His eyes found me, traveling over me with an appreciation that made my skin crawl. Companion. Bellissima. No wonder you're keeping her close. Dante's hand on my back tightened almost painfully. Careful. I'm just admiring your taste. Antonio stepped closer, his smile sharpening. Though, I have to wonder, does she know what she's gotten herself into? Does she know about, that's enough? Dante's voice could have cut glass. You're drunk. Go home. I'm celebrating. We all are. Antonio gestured to his companions. In fact, I was just telling our friends here about some opportunities on the east side, territory that might be opening up soon. Changes in leadership, perhaps. The threat was unmistakable. Antonio was planning something, a coup, a power play, something that would put Dante in danger. Walk away, Antonio. Dante's voice dropped to something lethal. Now, before you do something we'll both regret. Or what? You'll kill me like you killed father? Antonio's eyes glittered with malice. Oh, did your pretty nurse not know about that? About how you put a bullet in our father's head while he begged for mercy? The words hung in the air like poison. Around us, people had stopped pretending not to listen. This was a public challenge, a deliberate attempt to undermine Dante's authority. Father was dying, Dante said coldly, weak, making decisions that would have destroyed everything. I did what had to be done. You did what you wanted to do. Antonio's voice rose. Just like you're doing now, parading this nobody around like she matters, making decisions without consulting the family, acting like you're untouchable. Dante moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment Antonio was ranting, the next Dante had him by the throat, pressed against the terrace railing, 3 stories of empty air behind him. I am untouchable, Dante said quietly, his voice carrying despite the softness. Because I'm stronger, smarter, and more ruthless than you'll ever be. Because when Father died, I took this family from the edge of destruction and built it into an empire. Because every man here knows that crossing me means death. He leaned closer. So yes, little brother, I'll parade Lily around. I'll make decisions without your input. I'll do whatever I want. And you'll swallow your jealousy and fall in line, or I'll throw you off this terrace and tell everyone you were drunk. The silence was absolute. Antonio's face was white, his hands clawing at Dante's grip. Now apologize to Lily, Dante continued, for insulting her, for involving her in your pathetic power play. I'm sorry, Antonio choked out. Dante released him, stepping back smoothly. Get out, all of you. He addressed Antonio's companions. This party is over for you. They left quickly, Antonio stumbling after them, his humiliation complete. Dante turned to me, and the fury in his eyes was barely contained. We're leaving, but the party is over for us too. His hand found mine, gripped tight enough to hurt. Come! He practically dragged me through the club, out to his car, his entire body vibrating with rage. As soon as the doors closed, as soon as we were alone, he exploded. Fuck! His fist slammed into the seat beside me. That little bastard. Trying to undermine me in front of everyone, using you to... He broke off, breathing hard. Dante, did you see them? He turned to me, eyes blazing. All of them, watching, calculating, wondering if Antonio was right, wondering if I'm getting soft. If having you here makes me weak, then send me away, I said quietly. If I'm a liability. You're not a liability. His hands cupped my face, intense and almost desperate. You're the only real thing in this entire fucking world of lies and manipulation. The only person who doesn't want something from me. The only one who looks at me and sees... He broke off, his forehead pressing against mine. I can't send you away. I won't. My heart hammered against my ribs. What did he mean? About your father begging for mercy? Dante's hands fell away, and he leaned back, staring out the window at the city lights. For a long moment I thought he wouldn't answer. He was on his knees, he finally said, his voice hollow. Cancer had eaten away at his body, but his mind went first. He was paranoid, erratic, making alliances with our enemies, putting contracts on our own men. The family was fracturing, so the underbosses came to me. 23 years old, and they came to me, not Antonio, because they knew I was the only one strong enough to do what needed to be done. His jaw clenched. I went to his room. He was crying, begging me not to hurt him, promising he'd be better. He didn't even recognize me. His own son, and he thought I was there to torture him. His eyes met mine, and the pain in them was raw and devastating. I told him I loved him. Then I shot him. 1 bullet, clean, painless. Mercy, not murder. But Antonio will never see it that way. I reached for his hand, threading my fingers through his. I'm sorry. Don't. His grip tightened. Don't pity me. I made my choice. I live with it. I'm not pitying you. I'm saying I understand. I took a breath. My mother was dying too. Car accident left her brain damaged, on life support. The doctors said there was no hope, but my father couldn't let her go. He kept her alive for 3 months. Machines breathing for her, feeding her, keeping her heart beating while she was already gone. And I watched him destroy himself trying to hold on to someone who wasn't there anymore. Dante's eyes searched mine. When he finally signed the order to remove life support, I continued. He couldn't live with it. 2 days later, he drove his car off a bridge, left me and Maya alone. My voice cracked. So no, I don't pity you for making the hard choice. I pity my father for not being strong enough to make it." Dante pulled me against him, his arms wrapping around me tight. We sat there in the back of his car, two broken people holding each other together, as the driver navigated the city streets. "You're dangerous, Lily Chin," he murmured against my hair. "More dangerous than any enemy I've ever faced." "Why?" "Because you make me feel things I've spent years learning not to feel. Because you see through the armor. Because every moment with you makes me want to keep you forever, and that terrifies me more than any bullet or blade." I pulled back to look at him. "Then let me go, before this gets worse." "No." The word was absolute. "You're mine now, for better or worse, and I don't give up what's mine." His mouth captured mine, and this kiss was different from the others, less about possession and more about need. Raw, desperate need that matched my own. His hands moved over me, one sliding up my thigh where the dress's slit exposed skin, the other tangling in my hair. I kissed him back with everything I had, pouring all my confusion and fear and dark desire into it. This was madness. This was surrender. This was everything I'd sworn I wouldn't let happen, and I wanted it anyway. "Not here." He breathed against my lips, even as his hand moved higher on my thigh. "Not in the car like some desperate teenager. When I take you, Lily, it will be in my bed, where I can spend hours learning every sound you make, every place that makes you tremble." The promise in his words made me dizzy. "When?" The question escaped before I could stop it. His smile was dark and satisfied. "When you stop fighting what you want. When you come to me and ask for it." His thumb stroked the sensitive skin of my inner thigh. "When you're ready to admit you belong to me in every way that matters." Chapter 7. The Breaking Point. The next 2 weeks were torture. Dante kept me close, always touching, always claiming, always pushing me to the edge of surrender without letting me fall. He'd kiss me until I was breathless, then pull away. He'd whisper dark promises in my ear, then leave me aching and alone. He was seducing me methodically, deliberately, breaking down every wall I'd built, and it was working. I treated injuries, gunshot wounds, knife cuts, broken bones from territorial disputes and internal discipline. I attended dinners and meetings, standing beside Dante like a queen, reading the room and whispering observations that he used to devastating effect. I lived in his world, breathed his air, and felt myself changing with every passing day. Maya called once from the rehab facility. She sounded good, clear-headed, embarrassed, grateful. She didn't ask about Dante, didn't ask about the debt. She just said thank you and promised to do better. I believed her. Or maybe I just wanted to. Antonio was making moves. I could feel it in the tension around the estate, in the hushed conversations that stopped when I entered rooms, in the way Dante's security had doubled. But he said nothing, just watched me with those storm-gray eyes and kept his own counsel. Until the night everything shattered. I was in my room, preparing for bed, when I heard the gunshots, 3 sharp cracks, followed by shouting. My nurse instincts kicked in immediately. I grabbed my medical bag and ran toward the noise, even though every survival instinct screamed at me to hide. The chaos was on the ground floor. Dante's men were everywhere, weapons drawn, shouting in Italian. I pushed through them and found Dante in his study, blood staining his white shirt, his face pale but his eyes still sharp. "Lily, get back. You're shot." I was already at his side, pulling open his shirt to assess the damage. Shoulder wound, clean through, missing the major arteries by inches. "Sit down. We have a situation. Sit down." I used my nurse voice, the one that made even the most difficult patients comply. "You're bleeding. I need to stop it before you pass out and your men have to carry your stubborn ass." "Despite everything," he smiled. "Yes, ma'am." I worked quickly, packing the wound, starting an IV for fluids, administering antibiotics. Around us, his men gave reports Antonio had hired outside contractors to hit the estate, professional killers who'd breached the security. 3 of them were dead, 2 captured, but they'd gotten shots off before being taken down. "Where's Antonio now?" Dante asked through gritted teeth as I stitched his shoulder. "In the wind, boss. He disappeared right after the attack." "Find him." Dante's voice was ice. "I want him alive. I want him to answer for this." The men dispersed, leaving us alone in his study. I finished the stitches, bandaged the wound properly, and checked his vitals. "You need rest. Real rest. Not your version of rest where you sit at your desk making calls all night. I can't rest. Not until Antonio is dealt with. You can rest for a few hours. I started cleaning up the medical supplies. You're no good to anyone if you collapse from blood loss. His hand caught my wrist, stopping me. You could have been killed tonight. If you'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time, but I wasn't. Lily. His grip tightened. This is what I wanted to protect you from. This is why I keep you close. Because my world is violence and death, and anyone connected to me becomes a target. I know that. I set down the bandages and turned to face him fully. I've known that since the night you walked into my apartment. I'm not naive, Dante. I'm not some fragile thing that needs to be sheltered. No, you're not. His eyes held mine. You're strong and brave and so goddamn stubborn it drives me insane. You run toward danger instead of away from it. You stand beside me when any sane person would run. He broke off, pulling me closer. You make me want things I have no right to want. Like what? Like a future. Like something beyond this endless cycle of violence and power. Like, his forehead pressed against mine. Like you, all of you. Forever. My breath caught. Dante. I know. His hand slid into my hair. I know it's impossible. I know you deserve better than a man with blood on his hands and enemies at every turn. But I can't help it, Lily. I can't help wanting you. Then take me. The words escaped before I could stop them, raw and honest. Stop pulling away. Stop testing me. Just take what you want. His eyes blazed. You don't know what you're asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. I pressed closer, my hand sliding up his chest, careful of his injury. I'm asking you to stop treating me like I'm going to break. I'm asking you to give me what you've been promising for weeks. I'm asking you to. He kissed me, cutting off my words, and this kiss was everything the others had hinted at, fierce and consuming and absolutely devastating. His good arm wrapped around me, lifting me onto his desk, papers scattering. His body pressed between my thighs as his mouth moved over mine with desperate hunger. Lily, he groaned against my lips. If we do this, there's no going back. You'll be mine in every way. No more pretending. No more distance. I don't want distance. My hands tangled in his hair. I want you. He pulled back just enough to look at me, searching my face for any hint of doubt. Whatever he saw satisfied him, because his smile turned predatory. Not here. He lifted me off the desk, cradling me against his good side despite his injury. Not on a desk like some quick fuck. You deserve better. He carried me through the mansion, past guards who quickly looked away, up the stairs to his room. I'd never been in his private quarters before they were dark and masculine, with a massive bed and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the grounds. He set me down gently, then just stood there, looking at me like I was something precious and dangerous all at once. Last chance to change your mind, he said quietly. Once I have you, Lily, I'm never letting go. I don't want you to let go. Something shifted in his expression, possessiveness mixed with something softer, something that looked dangerously like reverence. He reached for me, his fingers finding the zipper of my dress, sliding it down slowly. Tell me if I hurt you, he murmured. Tell me if it's too much. You won't hurt me. No. His lips brushed my shoulder as he slid the dress off. But I'll ruin you for anyone else. He was true to his word. He took his time, learning every inch of me, every place that made me gasp or tremble. His hands and mouth mapped my body with devastating precision, building heat and need until I was begging. And when he finally entered me, when we moved together in desperate rhythm, it felt like something breaking and healing all at once. Surrender and claiming, possession and freedom, everything. Afterward, I lay in his arms, his good arm wrapped around me, our breathing slowly returning to normal. Outside, dawn was breaking over the estate. Inside, something fundamental had shifted between us. No regrets? He asked quietly. Not yet. I looked up at him. Ask me again in the morning. His smile was soft, almost tender. It is morning, Tesoro. Then ask me later. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. Rest. I'll be here when you wake. I closed my eyes, exhaustion pulling me under. The last thing I felt was his hand stroking my hair, gentle and possessive. Mine, the gesture said. And for the first time since this all began, I didn't want to argue. Chapter 8. Aftermath. I woke to an empty bed and the sound of raised voices downstairs. For a moment, I just lay there, feeling the ache in my muscles, the soreness that proved last night hadn't been a dream. Dante's scent still clung to the sheets, cedar and smoke and something darker. I pressed my face into the pillow, trying to hold on to the peace I'd felt falling asleep in his arms. Then the shouting got louder, and reality came crashing back. I found clothes in his closet, one of his shirts that fell to mid-thigh, soft and carrying his scent. Pulling it on felt like armor. I made my way downstairs, following the voices to Dante's office. "Can't just execute him. He's your brother." The voice was Lorenzo Moretti's. "He tried to kill me." Dante's response was cold fury. "He hired assassins to attack my home. He put Lily in danger. There are consequences for that." I pushed open the door. The room fell silent as every eye turned to me. Dante stood behind his desk, shirtless except for the bandages on his shoulder. Lorenzo and two of his sons, not Marco, thankfully stood across from him. And between them, on his knees with his hands bound, was Antonio. "Lily." Dante's voice softened fractionally. "You should go back upstairs." "No." I stepped into the room, acutely aware of how I looked wearing only Dante's shirt, my hair tangled, marks visible on my neck and collarbone. "If you're going to kill him, I should see it. I should understand what justice looks like in your world." Antonio's eyes found mine, and the desperation there was palpable. Please, you seem like a good person. Don't let him do this. I'm his brother, his blood. You stopped being my brother the moment you put a gun in a killer's hand and pointed it at my home," Dante said, moving around the desk. "You're just another enemy now." "Lorenzo came to negotiate. One of the Moretti sons," said the middle one, whose name I couldn't remember. "We're asking for mercy. Exile instead of death. Antonio leaves the city, never returns, never contacts the family again. And what guarantee do I have he won't just rebuild his power somewhere else and come back stronger?" Dante's eyes never left Antonio. "What guarantee do I have that letting him live won't be seen as weakness?" "My guarantee," Lorenzo said. "The Morettis will watch him. If he violates the exile, we'll deliver him to you ourselves." He paused. "I'm asking as a favor, Dante, for the peace between our families." The politics of it was dizzying. Lorenzo was calling in a debt, using Antonio as a way to bind Dante to the Morettis even more tightly. If Dante accepted, he'd owe Lorenzo. If he refused, he'd create tension with an important ally. "What do you think?" Dante asked suddenly, looking at me. "Should I show mercy?" Every eye in the room turned to me. Antonio's hopeful, Lorenzo's calculating, Dante's unreadable. I thought about Vincent, the man who died on my table. I thought about the 4 I'd saved. I thought about the violence that would come if Dante killed his brother, the vendetta from Antonio's supporters, the whispers that he was becoming too ruthless. But I also thought about Antonio's sneer at the party, his deliberate attempt to humiliate Dante, his willingness to kill his own brother for power. "He doesn't deserve mercy," I said quietly. "But maybe you do." Dante's eyebrows rose slightly. "Explain." "Killing him makes you the man everyone thinks you are: ruthless, cold, capable of anything. But letting him live, on your terms, with conditions that bind him." I met his eyes. "That makes you powerful enough to show mercy, strong enough not to need the execution, secure enough in your position that his existence doesn't threaten you." Silence stretched. Then Lorenzo smiled. "She's smart, your woman. You should listen to her." Dante studied me for a long moment. Then he turned to Antonio. "You have 1 hour to leave this city. You take nothing. No money, no weapons, no contacts. The Morettis will provide you transport to the border and a small stipend to start over somewhere far from here. If I ever see you again, if I even hear a rumor that you're planning something, I'll hunt you down myself. And next time Lily won't be here to argue for your life." Antonio's relief was palpable. Thank you, I get him out of my sight," Dante said coldly. "Before I change my mind." The Morettis moved quickly, hauling Antonio to his feet and out of the room. Lorenzo paused at the door. "You chose well, Dante. In her. I mean, she'll make a good queen when you're ready to make it official." After they left, silence filled the study. Dante leaned against his desk, his eyes on me. "You undermined my authority," he said quietly. "I gave you an alternative that makes you look stronger. You made me look soft. I made you look secure." I moved closer. "Your men were watching. They saw you consider my counsel. They saw you make a decision based on strategy, not emotion. That's not weakness, Dante. That's leadership. His smile was slow and devastating. How did you get so wise? Years of managing difficult patients and reading power dynamics in the ER. I stopped in front of him. Plus, I figured if I'm going to be your queen, I should start acting like one. His hand settled on my hips, pulling me close. My queen? Is that what you are now? Isn't that what last night meant? No more pretending, no more distance. You claimed me. I let you. I met his eyes. So yes, I'm yours, which means you're mine too. The possessiveness in his expression sent heat spiraling through me. Careful, Tesoro. I'm not used to belonging to anyone. Get used to it. I traced the edge of his bandage. How's your shoulder? Hurts like hell. Worth it. Worth getting shot? Worth everything, if it led to you in my bed. His hand slid under his shirt I was wearing, skimming over bare skin. Speaking of which, you're wearing my clothes. I didn't have anything else. Good. His smile turned wicked. I like seeing you in my things. Marking you as mine. Possessive much? Absolutely. He kissed me, slow and deep. And you love it. I couldn't argue, because he was right. Some dark part of me thrilled to his possessiveness, to the claiming, to the absolute certainty with which he held me. Come back to bed, he murmured against my lips. I'm not done with you yet. You're injured. I fought with worse wounds. I can certainly make love to my woman with a shoulder injury. His hands moved over me, stoking the fire that never quite died when he was near. Unless you're too sore? Heat flooded my face. I'm fine. Liar. But his smile was tender. We'll take it slow. I'll be gentle. He was true to his word, leading me back upstairs to his room, to his bed. And as morning light streamed through the windows, as he moved over me and in me with devastating care, I finally understood what I'd been fighting. This wasn't just desire, wasn't just chemistry or the thrill of danger. This was something deeper, more terrifying. This was falling in love with a man who could destroy me, and choosing to fall anyway. Chapter 9. The Choice. 3 days later, I stood on Dante's balcony watching the sun set over the city, lost in thought. Inside, he was on another call, always another crisis, another decision, another move in the endless chess game of his world. But out here, I could breathe. I could think. I could question everything. The door opened behind me. I didn't turn, knowing his footsteps by heart now. You're thinking too much, Dante said, his arms wrapping around me from behind. I can practically hear the gears turning. My contract is almost up. I hadn't meant to say it, but the words escaped anyway. 18 months. I'm past the halfway point now. His arms tightened fractionally. I'm aware. What happens when it's over? What do you want to happen? I turned in his arms, looking up at him. That's not an answer. No, it's a question. Because what happens next is your choice, Lily. His hand cupped my face. You could. Walk away. Take your freedom, your cleared debts, and go back to your old life. I wouldn't stop you. Wouldn't you? No. The word was absolute. It would destroy me to let you go, but I'd do it. Because keeping you prisoner isn't the same as keeping you. And I want you to stay because you choose to, not because you're bound by obligation. My heart hammered. And if I do stay, what would that look like? Anything you want. His thumb stroked my cheekbone. You could continue as you are, my consort, my companion. Or... He paused, his eyes searching mine. Or you could be more, my partner in everything. Not just the woman in my bed, but the queen beside my throne. Marriage. The word hung between us like a dare. Eventually, if you wanted it. His other hand found mine, threading our fingers together. I know it's insane. I know we've only known each other a few months. I know my world is violence and danger and everything you should run from. But I also know that I've never felt this way about anyone. Never wanted someone the way I want you. Never trusted someone the way I trust you. Dante, let me finish. His forehead pressed against mine. You've changed me, Lily. Made me want to be better, stronger, more than just the monster everyone thinks I am. With you, I feel human, like maybe all the blood and violence and death isn't all I am. His voice dropped to a whisper. Don't leave me, please. Whatever you want, whatever you need, I'll give it to you. Just don't leave. Tears burned my eyes. This man, this dangerous, ruthless, powerful man was offering me his heart, his vulnerability, everything he'd spent years learning to hide. "I love you," I whispered. "God help me, but I do. I love you so much it terrifies me." His smile was brilliant and devastating. "Say it again." "I love you." "Again." "I love you, Dante Salvatore." I cupped his face, feeling the rough stubble under my palms. "I love your strength and your ruthlessness and the way you're gentle only with me. I love how you really see me when everyone else just saw the caretaker, the responsible one, the one who could be counted on to sacrifice. I love." He kissed me, deep and fierce, and I tasted salt from tears I didn't know had fallen. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright with emotion. "Marry me," he said, not a question but a plea. "Not now, not today, but someday. When you're ready. When you've made peace with what it means to be mine and for me to be yours. Marry me and rule beside me, and let me spend the rest of my life proving you didn't make a mistake." "Yes," I breathed. "Yes. But," his smile faltered slightly. But I need something from you first." I took a deep breath. "I need you to let Maya visit. To see me, to know I'm safe and happy. Because she's still my sister, Dante. She's still family." "Of course." His relief was palpable. "Tesoro, you never had to ask. I would never keep you from your family. And I need you to really try to find ways to make your businesses more legitimate. I'm not naive enough to think you can just walk away from the Mafia, but I need to know you're working toward something better, something that doesn't end with you dead or in prison." His expression turned thoughtful. "I can do that. I've been considering it anyway, diversifying, going legit where possible." He smiled slightly. "See? You're already making me better. Then yes, someday when we're both ready, I'll marry you." He kissed me again, and this kiss held promise of futures and forever, of choosing each other every day despite the danger, despite the darkness. When we finally broke apart, he pulled something from his pocket. A ring, simple, elegant, with a diamond that caught the last rays of sunlight. "I bought this 2 weeks ago," he admitted. "Couldn't help myself. I saw it and thought of you, beautiful and strong and worth any price." He slid it onto my finger, and it fit perfectly. "Consider it a promise. When you're ready, I'll replace it with something more official. But for now, let it remind you that you're mine and I'm yours." I looked at the ring, at this man who'd walked into my life and shattered everything, at the city spread out below us with all its darkness and possibility. "No regrets?" I asked, echoing his words from that first night. "Not a single one." His arms wrapped around me, pulling me back against his chest. "You?" I thought about the nurse. I'd been exhausted, drowning in debt, sacrificing everything for people who took and took without giving back. I thought about the woman I'd become stronger, sharper, standing beside a king and holding my own. "Not yet," I said. "Ask me again in the morning." His laugh rumbled through his chest into my back. "It's almost morning now, Tesoro. Then ask me later." We stood there as night fell over the city, two people who'd found each other in the darkness and chosen to build something bright. It wouldn't be easy. There would be danger, violence, hard choices, and harder days. But we'd face them together. And somehow, that made all the difference. Epilogue, 1 year later. The sun streamed through the windows of our bedroom, not Dante's anymore, but ours, as I woke slowly, contentedly. The space beside me was empty, but I could hear water running in the bathroom. Morning shower. Dante's routine never changed. My hand found the ring on my finger, a different one now, platinum with diamonds that circled the entire band. We'd married 6 months ago in a small ceremony with just family and the most important associates. Maya had been my maid of honor, clean and sober and working as a counselor at the rehab facility that had saved her life. The bathroom door opened, and Dante emerged in just a towel, water droplets clinging to his skin. Even after all this time, the sight of him made my breath catch. "You're staring," he said, amusement in his voice. "I'm appreciating." He crossed to the bed, leaning down to kiss me. "Good morning, Mrs. Salvatore." "Good morning, husband." The word still felt new, exciting. I'd kept my last name professionally, Dr. Lily Chen, head of the free clinic we'd opened in the city's poorest neighborhood. Dante's way of going legitimate, of making his empire something more than blood money. But in our world, in his world, I was Lily Salvatore, his wife, his queen. "We have that meeting with the Castellanos today," he reminded me, sitting on the edge of the bed. Can you be ready by 10? I'll be ready by 9. I sat up, the sheet pooling at my waist. Though I still don't understand why they want me there. Because you're brilliant and intimidating and they respect you more than they respect half my underbosses. His hand slid up my arm. Also, because seeing us together reminds everyone that I have something worth protecting. Something that makes me more dangerous, not less. I'd learned that lesson well. Being Dante's wife didn't make me weak, it made me powerful. Every family in the city knew that hurting me meant declaring war on Dante, and no one was stupid enough to do that. Well, almost no one. There were always challengers, always threats, but we handled them together now. What time is Antonio's check-in? I asked, changing the subject. This afternoon. Lorenzo says he's doing well. Working construction in Mexico City. Staying clean, staying quiet. Dante's expression softened slightly. You were right about Mercy. It made me look stronger. And having him alive and controlled by the Morettis has proven useful in negotiations. See? I'm brilliant and intimidating. Don't I know it? He kissed me again, deeper this time, his hand sliding into my hair. We have time before the meeting. Do we? We'll make time. His smile turned wicked. One of the benefits of being the boss, I make my own schedule. As he lowered me back onto the bed, as his hands and mouth reminded me exactly who I'd chosen, and who'd chosen me, I felt that question surface again. Any regrets? I looked at this man I'd married. Dangerous, ruthless, mine. I thought about the life I'd left behind and the life I'd built in its place. The fear and the fire, the surrender and the strength. Not a single one. And as morning light streamed through the windows, as Dante made love to his wife with devastating thoroughness, as the city woke to another day of power and politics and the empire we ruled together, I finally understood the truth. Sometimes the devil doesn't offer you a deal. Sometimes he offers you freedom. And sometimes, against all logic and reason, you take it, and find yourself exactly where you belong,